Welcome to our evening conversation. Tonight we are hosting John Mwati. He is a Mandela Rhodes Foundation scholar at the University of Cape Town, South Africa. In this conversation, we are going to discuss about his journey to joining the UCT and his experiences as a Mandela Rhodes Scholar. So, John, welcome to this conversation, and I will start with this question. For a person who is seeing you for the first time, who is John?
Thank you so much, Joseph, for this opportunity to be featured here. First of all, is to really appreciate all that you're doing, creating opportunities, and actually, like, this information is power. That's what exactly we say. And just a little bit about myself. My name is John, and as you have said, I'm currently doing my master's in development economics here at the University of Cape Town. I'm actually almost finishing under the scholarship, Mandela Rhodes Scholarship, which I got in 2023, and it has been 2 years. During the first year was coursework, and the second year was dissertation. And my dissertation in development economics was trying to see whether there is a relationship between sustainability reporting, that's ESG, and financial performance of listed firms in the stock exchange, that's the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Yes, and I was consulting for Deloitte before I took a break to focus on my dissertation earlier this year.
Yeah, that is a very interesting career journey, and we may get to talk about it at some point. But now let's focus first about the MRS. So that is the short form. I would be using that all through for Mandela Rhodes Scholarship.
Yes.
So how did you know about this scholarship? First of all, what does the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship mean?
So the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship is an official legacy of Nelson Mandela himself as a person. He was South Africa's first democratically elected president in 1994. And Nelson Mandela, the story goes that the Rhodes Trust, based in the UK, they were reaching out to see how they would support young leaders in Africa get an opportunity to school in Africa. And so they saw an opportunity to partner with Mandela. And that's how the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship came about. And we just celebrated 20 years anniversary last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the first cohort of scholars would be around 2004, 2003, and 2023 we were able to celebrate 20 years anniversary. It was really great because in our class we were part of this cohort that was, in class in residence when they were celebrating 20 years.
How did you know about this scholarship?
Well, I got to know about the scholarship through a friend of mine. So I think we both applied to the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship in I had applied in 2021. That's just when COVID happened, and sadly I was not selected. But then my friend, whom we were together in Yali, got selected. But the way I came to know about the scholarship was really through, I would call it LinkedIn. I saw those scholarships being advertised on LinkedIn, and also we had lots of Yali alumnus being part of the scholarship. So we were like, okay, so when you go through the profiles of the Young African Leaders Initiative, the one that was launched by Obama in 2015, we used to see a couple of them joining and getting this scholarship. And so we're like, okay. So it was just among the scholarships that we would hear about. But it was not so, so well known compared to Shivni, the Commonwealth, and all the likes.
So what is the criteria for a person to be awarded this scholarship?
So the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship in itself has 4 principles. And these principles say, you aspire to be a scholar and exhibit these 4 principles. So there are 4 principles, and one of it is leadership. And then there is entrepreneurship. Then there is education, which is academics. And then there is reconciliation.
So do I need to fit all the four? Like I know there's leadership, reconciliation, education, and entrepreneurship. Do I need like to fit all the four, or how do I know that this is how I fit into this criteria?
So normally, okay, I haven't sat in a panel to say you would qualify, but consistently I've seen in the foundation, based on the scholars and the alumni that are there, say plus, is that you see people have a particular inclination towards a particular principle. I mean, not all of us can be entrepreneurs, not all of us can be academics, but it is expected that, I mean, you come here and you get your degree. But there are people who are strictly, their minds is academia. They want to go do their PhDs and teach and lecture.
Yeah.
But one thing that is common in all of them is leadership and reconciliation. I think those are among the principles that I would say have been so consistent. I mean, almost all scholars will find that they embody these two principles. But that is not to say that the other two principles are not like so common, but they are. I mean, not everyone is an entrepreneur. That is something to say. But then there is modules in the scholarship where you get to train and learn more about entrepreneurship.
So we will get to come to, because I understand as an applicant you will need to make a justification about that, and there are various ways to make a justification depending on the type of scholarship. Now, this being MRS, so I understand the essays we need to write and such information. But before we get to talk about the essays, one needs to apply for the scholarship, and they also need admission for a program. Does it mean that once I'm offered the scholarship, I can directly get the admission for a program, or what is the order of things?
So this is how things work. So in South Africa, the scholarship, first of all, is to say that it's open only, you can only start in South Africa, and it's only open for African nationals. African nationals. So when the applications open, they open around March or April there. So
for 2025, it will be opening on Friday, the 14th of March, right?
14th of March, yeah. So, and then they close, I think, end of April. So you get to apply, and that time your application. So the first thing normally is people apply for the scholarship, because many universities, they are not open that time for postgraduate, because it's also strictly postgraduate studies. That's honors program and a master's degree program. So you get to apply for the scholarship first, and then subsequently you apply for admissions in the universities. So like UCT, they open around June. Around June, that's when applications for UCT open. Some universities open as early as May. So when you get the admissions, when you get the MRF, we call it MRF, the Mandela Rhodes Foundation scholarships, when you get it, you cannot accept it unless you have received admissions. I mean, because what you do be doing, you need admissions from a university for a postgraduate degree to be able to take up the scholarship. So people work concurrently. So as you apply for the scholarship, once the application is done, now you start focusing on your admissions applications to the universities.
So help me understand. You said for the graduate studies, you have a honors degree and you have a master's degree. What is the difference between these two degrees?
So the way the system works here in South Africa, for people like us, it was also very confusing, because coming from East Africa, in Kenya particularly, and I think many other countries in East Africa would resonate, is that you do a 4-year degree, what we call a bachelor's.
Yeah.
And for instance, the University of Nairobi, you do a 4-year degree, which is a bachelor. And then immediately you can go directly and do a master's at the University of Nairobi. But here, what happens is that South Africans, the education system is that you do a 3-year bachelor degree. And then once you're done with the bachelor's degree, which is 3 years, you now get to do your honors degree. Now, honors is purely research. It's preparing you for research. Really. This is so much related, especially to people who want to advance even to the levels of masters and even doctoral studies. So, but coming from East Africa, you do a 4-year degree, and when you come here, some universities here they would tell you to do an honors that you don't qualify for a master's directly. And we have had cases where people have to, even after sending your degree certifications to SACA for certification and review, people are forced to do honors degree even after doing a 4-year degree back home. Yeah.
So it is more or less like you need to understand what path you want to take after your graduate studies to know where to place yourself, right?
Yes.
Does MRF allow me to pursue either honors or a master's degree, or it's strictly for a master's degree? And as you answer that question, am I allowed to apply to any university, or there are specific universities that I can apply to?
Well, the first one is that Mandela Rhodes would give you a scholarship to either your honors degree or your master's degree. That is to mean that should I have applied for an honors in economics at the School of Economics here at the University of Cape Town, I would have gotten a scholarship to do that. And if now that I got a master's, that's what they gave me. So it's open depending on your level of admissions, depending on the university. But also the scholarship is open to all universities in South Africa. So I think they of course certified that they are listed by the Commission for University Education here. So there is a list that is always sent out of the university. But I think all the universities here they are up to the level of the global standards. But once you get admissions to any of the universities, you get scholarship. Easy.
Now that I understand that I can go to any university, let me make this clear that at least in my knowledge, admission process do vary from one university to another. But let's use your example at UCT. So you applied for your master's in development economics. What was the application like? Did you have to pay? What did you submit? And how long did it take for you to get admitted, so that I can know my chances? Should I be going for the scholarship first, or can I go for the scholarship and then fail to get admission?
Yeah, so I mean, that is something that we get a lot, especially as current scholars, and also getting to the root of becoming an alumni. People will always ask, so how do I go about it? Especially to people who are applied. For me, I usually say one thing is to cast your bread in many waters. I mean, those are words from the famous Book of Wisdom. So if you're able to cast your bread in many waters, that means that, and also becoming wise is knowing that universities will ask you for application fee. University of Cape Town does ask for application fee, especially quite a number of faculties. But I don't remember for us School of Economics paying an application fee. But some faculties are very particular. You have to pay some rands to that effect. So for other universities, I know I also applied to the University of Witwatersrand, the principle of casting my bread in many waters. So that is to ensure that I had many options if I got a scholarship, I know even if I got a reject or a regret from one university in terms of admissions, I can always go to another university. And that was my thinking, my philosophy. So you will get admissions to a couple of universities. Some universities you have to pay, but this is the timeline. You look at timelines. So you start with April. April, that's when the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship closes. Let's say April 2025 is coming year. If you're able to apply within that time, and the university applications open around May around June there. That means that, and then the university applications close October 31st to many universities around here in South Africa. So you will have June, July, August, September, October. You have 5 months to be able to know, to be able to make decisions on which universities you'll apply to. And the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship will be giving you feedback after every month, with the last one being August. August is when you know whether you qualify for an interview with them. And by the time you qualify for an interview with them, you know that having passed through all the rounds, it's highly likely that you'd get the scholarship. So chances of you getting the scholarship are, let's say, 50-50, getting the scholarship.
Yeah.
So to be on the safer side, you ensure that by August, you have applied, you have done all that you need, so that you can be able to secure admissions in one of the universities.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it becomes very challenging, especially given that each country has their own criteria, and each country has even their own education ranking system. As you mentioned, in East Africa, for example, it's a bachelor's, master's, PhD, and we're done, right? Or if you want to do a PGD, that is a different path.
Yeah.
But then in South Africa, you are going from bachelor's. You can either choose to go to a master's directly, or you can go to a honors then before you proceed. Now, there's one thing I came across called the SAQA, South African Qualification Agency. Is it? What is SAQA, and what do they do?
Yeah. So first of all, is to clarify on that part for whether to choose to do honors or masters. So, like for South Africans, once you are done with your 3-year degree, you have to do an honors before you do a master's. But what they do is that they are able to get employment in the marketplace with a bachelor's, with a 3-year bachelor's. But for those who plan to do postgraduate studies, it's not like they have an option. They have to do the honors so that they can do a master's. But coming to the point of internationals who come from the rest of Africa and the rest of the world. So before you get admitted, the university will tell you to bring SAQA certification. And SAQA certification is really, it's a body of a SAQA, so it's a qualification authority in South Africa that would help to see how your certificate aligns to the standards here. Just simple language. What and how your degree aligns with the education system here. So the framework in itself would say, okay, you studied here. So this is your degree. This is how your degree would be equivalent to the South African standards here. And it also serves to classify, to register, and also very important is to accredit those qualifications. And I think that is very important because their universities are very particular. You can't get to finish your application before you get the SAQA certification. I think some universities like University of Pretoria. So that is how they determine whether your degree certificate qualifies you to take you directly to masters, or you have to do it.
Now, speaking about your experience, and this might only work for people in Kenya and Nairobi, but probably it might be a more or less the same experience elsewhere. How did you go about the process of getting your certification from SAQA?
Good. So beyond the national framework by SAQA, universities also have their own internal mechanisms to review the certifications. Because they receive applications every year from all these countries. Every year they have to receive applications from Kenya, from Uganda, and the likes, up north, down south. So they already know what a degree would look like. It's like when you apply to these universities, they'll tell you, these universities in the UK and the US, they'll tell you, oh, you have you have done high school, so this is the grade that you need to have. For Kenya, you have to have a KCSE, which is an equivalent of need to have a B plus or an A or an A minus, because you already know you receive applications from these countries, and this is the expected standards. So UCT has its own developed internal mechanism and frameworks to actually know your degree. You come with your degree from this and this country. So this is what we expect of you. So luckily, we didn't apply for SACA. And that is not just for me, but many UCT students who are currently, and they are international students from other African countries, they didn't have to apply for SACA. And because the UCT has its own internal mechanism, and they would see, oh, you have done a 4-year bachelor's at the University of Nairobi in Kenya. You qualify for master's degree, and that's exactly what happened. And some faculties will be like, oh, you did a 4-year degree, but you just feel like you can't handle the quantity and the weight of this master's degree program, so we need you to do an honors to ascertain that you can actually handle because this master's program can also be quite complex and quite engaging. So they don't just want people to come and enroll and then drop out. And so they will force you to, not quote unquote force you, but they would recommend, because of the weight load and the workload of this program, you need to do it. Because honors will prepare you for research. Yeah, so basically that's what happened. But some universities like UP, University of Pretoria, University of Witwatersrand, they will expect you to have a SACA certification.
Okay, I think now I think I have a very good understanding of the whole SACA certification process, and we are now about to start talking about the work itself, applying to the scholarship, because that's all about this conversation. What this conversation is all about. Do you remember how many essays you submitted for your application? Or let me put this question this way: what do you require for you to have submitted a complete application?
First of all, is to know that the application happens entirely on an application portal offered by the website. And the website is at www.mandelarhodes.org. First of all, when you go to that application, once you go to the website, Mandela Rhodes, you'll get to know what to apply, when applications are open, what they require from you. You even do like something like explore. You do explore and apply, and explore and apply will help you know whether you qualify. Remember, there are some requirements which includes age. Like you need to be 29 and below to qualify for the program. Actually, to qualify for the scholarship, you need to be of a certain age, between like maximum is 29 or 30 around there.
Okay.
So the explore and apply will help you know the qualifications and whether you qualify. You need to have a second upper, a minimum, a second upper in your undergraduate degree, and a couple of other things. So when you start your application, you create a portal and you start your application. That's why you'll be uploading your documents and uploading everything. So for you to have a successful application, of course, you need recommendation letters, and the recommendation letters are submitted directly by the referees. All right, and there are around 2 of them. Okay, 2 referees are 2 reference letters. Then we also have essays. So you write an essay, and you also write what we call a personal statement. And normally they will ask you about a polarizing issue in your community. So you write on that. All right. So that's the essay that you write.
So let's talk about these 3 documents, because I know that's a point of great interest for the applicant. So we have your personal statement, you have your essay, and you have an issue that you've selected, right? how do I structure, based on your experience, how do I structure a good personal statement? What should I put into a good personal statement?
Wow. So, good personal statement is really, I would say, you have to be personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking that's the best way to respond to questions about personal statement. Because when reviewers are reviewing applications, they want to know what is it that sets you apart from other leaders. Why do you think you qualify for this scholarship? And I think a well-curated personal statement needs to be personal. There is no fear to being vulnerable. There is no fear in being deep and sharing your story. You know? And this is a point where you are able to connect with the reviewers and the committee that reviews applications, because you remember you get to meet them way later after the whole 2 rounds have happened. So you can only meet them in person to share more about yourself only through the personal statement, which is a personal essay. So to have a well-curated personal statement, it is important to know it is okay to be vulnerable, to share your story, to look at your journey and see what is it that connects to me as a person and as a young leader. Because that's exactly what I do.
Can I trust AI to write my personal statement?
Well, you cannot trust AI because there is AI language, and I can somebody would know when somebody has written something using AI, and somebody would know when somebody has written, especially a personal statement using human language. There is a connection.
Yeah.
We are human, and that's what I'm saying. When you are personal, you need to elicit. When somebody reads your personal statement, there should be emotions. Eliciting, you should elicit emotions once I read your personal statement. It's not just enough to say, oh, you went to the university, blah, 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 you did. It's okay to align achievement and list them, but it may have little impact, according to me. But when you give me a story about what makes you human, I can connect to that. And I think that's what constantly reviewers and committees look for. Personality.
Are looking for.
Yeah. So when you talk about AI, of course, I know the future is AI. I know the future is technology. But for me, I would say there needs to be wisdom in how it is utilized.
Yeah.
And the commanders and applications, websites, scholarship applications, even universities are increasingly coming up with these models that now are able to detect AI. Many years ago it was plagiarism. Actually, even now it's still plagiarism, but days are coming where even now it has started, because I saw some applications that are like, don't use AI because it will be flagged. So instead of that, why don't you just take time? It takes months to actually do these applications. It will take you months. Why? It will take you weeks and days. Why? Because you need to think critically. You don't have to wake up one day and write it. No. You may do that, but before even you submit, you constantly think and see, did I write something that is personal? Did I write something that is meaningful, that is relevant?
I get to ask that question to a lot of scholars, and the answer is always more or less the same. A personal statement is personal, and there's no way AI can be as personal as you can as an individual. So just trust yourself and write down your story. There's no good or bad story, and don't fear to be, as you said, don't fear to be vulnerable. But then that brings us to the second aspect of the application, and that is called the application essay. How many essays did you have to write?
So the application, so that's particularly for the scholarship, right?
Yes.
So the essay that I wrote was one, and that was now beyond the personal essay. There is one, also another one. You're given a question to answer. Let me get this clear. So there are two essays that you write. One is personal statement and a personal essay. That's a personal journey, personal journey. And the other one is
Okay.
the issue, the current issue that they would, depending on the question, last many years it has always been a polarizing issue in your community that you're passionate about, and try to write about it. So those are the two major issues and two major essays that you write on.
So how do I know this is the issue I want to talk about, and how do I structure it so that it is an issue worth funding?
There are so many issues in our world today, but I don't think really it's about the intensity and the magnitude of the issue. But I think normally what the recruiters and the panels want to see, they want to see whether you are conscious of your environment. And then also, sometimes they will also come out as somebody who is not just conscious, but you're doing something about it. So you talk about a particular thing that troubles you in your community, but then, so what do you do about it? What is the response? Because it's not just enough to say, hey, this is the issue, but you need to point out what could be the recommended solution to it.
Yes.
And that's why issues can be articulated easily when it comes to defining solutions to them. We're not saying that people have to be 100%, but you can tell somebody who is a young leader and somebody who is an upcoming young leader who is passionate about changing their communities and making the world a better place. And another one who is just not conscious of the environment, but also does nothing about it. So to determine what is important is, I wouldn't talk about it because I don't know what they look at, especially in terms of the particular issues. But people have to think about the issues that they face in their communities, not even in the magnitude, not even in the grandiose way, but it could be little issues in your community, not even in a general sense, but in a small community, that township, that community, that village, what is it that you're passionate about, and what could be the possible solution, or what have you been doing about it?
Actually, speaking about leadership, I understand you have an organization. You are running an organization, the Transcending African Leadership Foundation. And I am tempted to believe you may have mentioned this once in our in your essay. So, what do you do at Transcending African Leadership Foundation?
Yeah, so Transcending Africa, I think I would say we are an upcoming leadership foundation. I would say we are more of a network organization. We are not for profit. And what we do is that we are focused on capacity building and mentorship. And what we want to do is that we want to raise the next generation of leaders, and not just leaders, but value-driven leaders. Because we believe we have Africa, and the world is so much. As an economist, also, I think we have so much in the world. We have so much resources, but the problem comes in because our resources are not directed to the right use and in the right way. So what we are in short of actually is more value-driven leaders who stand by their values, and I think that is something constantly have challenged the status quo in our communities. Getting to work with high schoolers, getting to work with college students, and challenging the notion that we can have a status quo kind of leadership. I think I really resonate with what happened in Kenya about the Gen Z protests. Because that's exactly what we are talking about. You can't just continue sitting and thinking that it is business as usual. No, there is no way an entire nation can be crippled down because of corruption. Yet it's not that we don't have resources. We have people who are paying taxes. We are working so hard. Kenyans are paying taxes, but this money goes to somebody's pocket. We don't have medicine, we don't have drugs in the hospitals. We don't have hospitals even to begin with. We don't have roads. We have nothing. And then we're like, we go to school and then the cycle continues. I don't think that's what our generation will stand for. And that is something that
Okay.
deeply resonated with me when I was in the university. And that's how it came about in talking about this small organization.
So I understand this organization actually is headed in a very good direction, and because we actually need to empower ourselves as young leaders. So
true.
if I want to be part of this organization, how do I join, or what do I do to be part of this organization? How do I reach you? Do you have any social media pages or a website where I can reach you?
Yes, so we do have a Facebook and an Instagram page, but majorly we work so much. So normally we will call out for volunteers to come and help out in trainings and capacity building, mentorship sessions, and we really love group mentorship, like and one-on-one mentorship with our young leaders. And be on the lookout on our LinkedIn page to see when the next set of events and programs are. And we also work directly with other organizations and profits. So that's also how we get to network and live out our mission.
Yeah, so if you want to know more about this organization and all that is done by the Transcending African Leadership Foundation, just check the description of this video. You will find all the necessary links to their socials. Also, if you want to connect to our guest today, John Mwati, we are going to leave links to his socials at the description of this video, particularly LinkedIn and every other social account that he has, so that you can get to reach out and network more with him. So back to our conversation about the MRF. We have submitted the two essays. There's one other document that most people find a challenge on. I just want you to talk about it very briefly, because I know there's no universal structure about it. It's called a resume or a CV. How long was your CV, by the way?
My CV was 2 pages.
Okay, it was 2 pages. I usually get to ask how long is it, because people usually think like for you to get funding, you need to have like a 10-20 page CV. So now that it's actually 2 pages, mine was one. Mine was a special case. Mine was a 1 page because I didn't have a lot to write. So do I need a lot of experience to be considered for this funding?
Well, the scholarship is really getting a lot of attention in Africa. That is one thing to see. The scholarship has gotten into even North Africa, and even West Africa, the Francophonie. I mean, of course, you need to speak English speaking, but they are getting to have more students apply from those regions. So the scholarship is really getting competitive. And one of the things I usually say, of course, be the best that you can ever be. In terms of when you're applying for a scholarship, the world is changing, the world has changed, and everything is increasingly becoming competitive. So I would say when scholarships are calling out for applications, do not shy from showing what you have done, but also is to say those that are aspiring to become scholars in all scholarships, you need to do more in terms of to get more experience. You need to look for, because the caliber of fellow applicants is just way, way above the threshold. The bare minimum.
Yes.
You can't just rely on the bare minimum these days. You have to go up and above and over, so that you're able to meet at least the threshold, which is, it has been set, but when they are coming to select, they will look for the excellent, the most in terms of excellent people in their areas.
Yeah, thank you, John. And that is the most important part about the application. And we usually get to say, when it gets to that point, we usually need to say people who are interested only on the application process. This is where you get to exit. But what is coming up next is even the most interesting part. It is about actually what happens once you get to that side, and your experiences as a scholar. So this is the Management Diary, and I'm your host, Omar Joseph. We usually get to host scholars to discuss about various funding opportunities. We recently rolled out episodes about research, careers, and also lifestyle, specifically focused on early career professionals. So, do you remember your first day in South Africa?
Yes, I do. I do remember. It was actually when I came for the interview. So the interview, when you get to the interview level, they fly you in at the foundation's expense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I came here first around 2022. That's when I came for the interview here around October. It was an interesting one, I would say.
So what happened on that first day, and also what happened during the interview?
Yeah, so after you apply, you go through the committee reviews your applications. You get to go, whether you move to round 1, then there is also round 2, and then round 3 is when you know whether you made it to the interview. And you get feedback around August, And then the interview is in October. You come to the interview, and they have funded everything, including your hotel, your stay, your food, and even your flight. Some countries you have to look for visa, and the visa is only, and that's the least that you can do. But for some countries, we are seeing increasingly globalization is helping countries open up the whole concept of visa. So many countries, you don't have to get visas to come for less than 90 days, and including Kenya.
Yeah.
So when I came here for the interview is it's a very brief interview. It's because it's around 30 minutes interview, 25 to 30 minutes. And then you get to sit for a panel around, it may vary to 3 to 5 panelists. And then you get to meet them in person. They do interview you. And then after the interview, you go back to your country. And after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you get feedback on your scholarship.
So what do you get to talk about during the interview?
So you get, normally it will turn into a conversation depending on the panelist, but they want to know who is this person behind this application, behind this amazing essay, behind this powerful problem you're trying to solve. Who is this person? And that's more about conversation. They want to meet you in person. They want to talk to you. They want to interact more with you and get to decide whether you qualify for the scholarship or not.
So as I was listening to you, you were describing something. Then you said you need to pass through round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4. Okay, what is a round? I need to understand what is a round. What happens for each round?
So when you apply in end of April, application deadline is closed. And that's it. You are told that you will know by the end of June whether you qualify through round 1. Okay? So that is, it's happening in the background. Like the committee is sitting, reviewing application, and then they're like, okay, these are the scholars progressing to the next round. So basically, there is nothing that you do. It's just waiting for feedback.
Okay.
And you get to know, did you pass through round 1? Did you pass through round 2 selection? Did you make it to round 3? Then the interview here, you do the interview, and then after the interview, they actually call you on a phone call to tell you whether you made it or not.
Because I'm looking at the timeline I have here on my screen. It is saying you are supposed to start the application on March. It ends in April.
Yes.
Then in June, that's the end of round 2, right?
Yes.
July, round 3.
Yes.
Then there's one for August where you are notified about the interviews. Then there's October where you do the interviews. And between October and December, that's where now you have to provide acceptance for the program, right? I don't know if it's exactly how it worked out for you.
Yes, that's exactly how it worked out.
So I don't need to do anything between these rounds once I submit my application.
Once you submit your application, that's it.
So is it correct if I say MRF is a fully funded scholarship?
Yeah, you would be correct to say so. It is a fully funded scholarship.
What do you mean? What do you mean when you say fully funded?
So a fully funded scholarship, I would say, is a scholarship that takes care of your tuition and your living expenses, your flights, your healthcare, and your accommodation. Like you just count, you need to count, just count
As you are.
as you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because one thing that is directly related to that, and we are just about to start talking about the money aspect, because this is one thing that everybody most people are usually interested in understanding very clearly,
Yeah.
is if I won't get enough funding, now that you've clarified there is, I may need to work. Are you allowed to work under the visa that you're provided if you need a visa anyway?
So the visa generally will give you up to 20 hours as a foreigner, as an international student. You can be able to work for up to 20 hours maximum. But the foundation
Okay.
has set in a way that, you're beyond the academic program, you're also in a leadership program. So it's quite intense. So they discourage people from taking up roles and jobs. But if you do, you have to come out clean and write to the foundation and specify that you actually are taking up task or a job and all that. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about money.
Yeah.
Do you fancy drinks? Well, let's say coffee.
Yeah. Tea, I would say tea.
Okay, you fancy tea. So I usually ask that question because we usually have this PPP. Is it called? You are now an economist. You understand that better. It's called the purchasing power parity, right?
Parity. Yes, parity. Yeah.
So I want to know something that is comparable everywhere.
Yes.
Then I can know what to do with that information.
Yeah.
So is there something that you know is internationally available that has a standard price, so that before we start talking about this money, we know exactly where we are going to? Something basic.
So bread here, you get it at 17 to around 25, and then there is also one for 30, depending on the quality.
Rands.
Yes, rands. $1 is equivalent to around 19 to 20 rands. So a dollar goes for 20 rands.
Okay. So you need something close to $1. That is 17 rands, 17 to get a bread, right?
Yes.
So let's now talk about the funding that you get as a student, so that we know, based on this information, if everything is okay. Is the accommodation provided by the institution, or you're going to get the accommodation yourself?
So when you're applying for the scholarship, also for admission, you get to specify: do you want to live in school, or do you want to live outside? Do you want a student res, or you don't want? So for me, I said I don't want student residence. I wanted to live outside.
Okay. So if I'm going to use my stipend to pay rent, what proportion generally? Because, okay, I know there's a difference in living, like the kind of accommodation you take, but on average, in your understanding, what proportion of my stipend is going into accommodation?
Okay, here we are. So that is, we are calculating it in a year on an annual basis, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so that would be, let me take you through the mathematics here. So when you're living outside, you get a good and a comfortable place, because normally you have to share. You have to share facilities. You go get a house or an apartment, and you have, like that's common for students. You just share the living area and share the kitchen area and sometimes bathroom, depending on how the arrangement is. For a comfortable one, you'd get one for around 6,000 to around 8,000. So let's take 7,000, right, in a month. Okay, and then once you get that deal, there are some places where that is inclusive of water, electricity, and the toiletries, and that is sorted. So 7,000 to around 8,000. That's good for a student because you're not living in your own house. Like currently, I'm living in my own house. I don't share any facility with anyone, so it's on the
Yeah.
higher spectrum. But 7,000 is
Mhm.
so much. It's just so much and within the range of a student. So you do that
Mhm.
for 12 because you have to sign a lease for an entire year, and that's around 84,000. So
Mhm.
what you get, it's first round, so you get around, so that is around 46%,
Mhm.
you
Of your
know?
stipend goes to accommodation and everything.
Yes, yes.
More or less
Uh,
that's more or less on average, right?
on average, yes, on average, you get to um, get to. I hope I'm getting clearly, because that's for the entire 12 months, and this is absolutely, this is absolutely correct. 46%. So on average,
Okay.
40 to 50%, depending.
Mhm.
For me, it was less because I did go for a lower because I wanted somewhere I don't have to pay Uber to go to school. I used the university shuttle. So for
Mhm.
me, it was way cheaper. I got somewhere I could
Mhm.
have 5,000 rands.
Okay,
And so it
okay.
affected the entire month.
So that makes a lot of sense to a person who knows how to use those numbers. They
Yes,
already know how to do the budget because you
yes.
have the price of bread, you
Mm,
have the price of accommodation, so
mm,
you can do your math. The rest of the information, please go to any store website and check prices of any commodities you may want to buy in South Africa. I think it could be easy for if you can do an application for MRF, you can
yeah,
easily go to the web and check store prices for commodities, right?
that's true.
Now, there's one very specific thing that MRF is very famous about. It's these workshops. Where did you do your workshop?
So the workshops, there are three workshops in a year. So there is the initial
Mhm.
workshop, which is the introduction workshop. There is also another workshop,
Mhm.
the reconciliation workshop, and then the final one is
Mhm.
entrepreneurship and closing workshop, where you also get to
Mhm.
graduate from the program. So
Mhm.
all the scholars fly into Cape Town and they come, they do
Mhm.
our workshops combined jointly. So in our class, we were
Okay.
around 40. So 40 of
Mhm.
us in one hotel, beautiful hotel, and a whole week we are together. It's fully funded, paid for. I
Mhm.
mean, everything.
Mhm.
There is food, there is drinks, there is
Yeah.
good, just an amazing environment to actually thrive and connect and network. So that is so
Mhm.
depending on the location. So like us, we change locations around Cape Town, but then there are sets of activities. We also get to tour. We go to Robben
Mhm.
Island. We toured
Mhm.
so many places. We went to Stellenbosch, uh,
Mhm.
and amazing places around in South Africa. And I think it was quite an amazing experience, I would say.
I'm tempted to ask, what actually is this workshop? What is a
So
workshop? What do you do in a
so,
workshop?
so what you do in a workshop is you, I would say it's learning experience. It's a learning experience
Mhm.
because they want to train. It's also like training capacity building in some sort, but majorly
Mhm.
it's a different kind of workshop because it doesn't so much focuses. It doesn't focus so much about. When we came, we thought we would talk about the problems that Africa is facing. We're like, okay,
Yes.
guys, we're from Africa. Of course, the talk
Mhm.
of our communities, maybe almost the
Mhm.
best of the best in the communities. And let's diagnose our problem.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, we
Mhm.
came and the first thing that happened was that there was this kind of a shift. We're like, we're talking about ourselves. How? What's the
Mhm.
problem? And it was more about
Mhm.
inner work as a leader. So there was
Mhm.
inner reflection, inner work, inner
Mhm.
healing.
Mhm.
And then we realized because when we were evaluating by the end of the problem, we're like, this is exactly what we needed. Inner healing, inner
Mhm.
work, inner reflection, because that's what we need in the continent. Leaders who are grounded.
Did you ever experience any culture shocks in South Africa?
Yeah, I did a lot.
Mhm.
One was food.
What's the one that stands out?
Food.
Okay.
Yeah, food was a big issue because Here, it's more GMO food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was a major culture shock for me because I came and I was looking forward to eating food that I'm used to back home, and to my disappointment, I think first few weeks actually, I relied so much on bread,
Mm-hmm.
and then it became apparent. I was like, I can't continue like this. So slowly by slowly, I started getting used to the food. Um,
Yeah.
it tastes a little
Your taste
different.
buds adjusted.
Yes, exactly. The taste buds adjust
Mm.
accordingly.
Okay. It is I think it's one of the biggest problems as international students we do face. Because I
Yeah.
was speaking actually to a student from West Africa who came to
Mm,
Kenya for
mm,
a master's degree, and the first thing they said,
mhm.
food
Food.
is a problem. Although now they say in Kenya, the only advantage they got is there's a lot of avocado in Kenya. I don't know if there's something that is
And
in
cheap.
plenty down there in South Africa.
But it's really expensive. If the I got some today actually from the supermarket, from the grocery store.
Hmm.
And it's funny
Hmm.
because with the price that I bought for, it's almost like, like with that, I can get almost 10 avocados back home. 10 quality avocados. You're like,
Yeah. You are like, this is so overpriced. But then
yeah,
that's how things work in that side, right? So, just one last question.
yeah.
What is that good thing you remember about your whole experience as an MRF scholar?
I think the people,
Hmm.
and I would say the people because you see, when you bring young people from all over Africa,
Hmm.
and these are people who have been handpicked through a very competitive process. There's just something that happens.
Hmm.
There is some energy in the room. There is just some some quality, you know. And I think
Yes.
interacting with these people coming from various backgrounds, like we had friends from even the Gambia, people
Hmm.
places have not visited, but have met the people. So technically, it's like I've been there, and meeting
Yeah.
these people from across the continent, you just see the enormous potential that Africa has. And I can tell you for a
Mm.
fact, Africa is truly blessed because of our young people, because this is our asset. So the experience as
Hmm.
as MRF scholar, the people, the depth of networking, the depth of
Mm.
relationships and perspectives, worldviews being developed and shaped. It was such an
Mm.
enriching experience, I would say, from the bottom of my heart. I would say it was such a transforming life experience.
Indeed, it sounds as such, and it will be great for somebody else who has been listening this conversation for the past 1 hour to also
Mm,
get a share of that experience. And for
yeah,
this person who is hoping to become a scholar, what do you have to tell them?
apply. The first step is to apply.
Just
Yeah,
apply. Mhm.
yeah, just apply. And of
Mhm.
course, send out a good application. Take time, reflect on what you stand for as a leader. Send out a good application, apply,
Mhm.
get into the scholarship, become the best you can be. But really is also to say that to those that have applied but they haven't gotten the scholarship, I know there are some who have,
Mhm.
because I also tried at some point, I didn't get it, but the following time I got it. I know there are some who tried
Mhm.
so many times. Is to say that never to give up, but get to apply as many scholarship as you can because you never know what God has in store for you. So keep applying.
That's right. If I want to reach out to you, which social media platforms should I use?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn works best. It's also good
Mhm.
to connect. It's a good place to connect professionally. So I would say
Mhm.
on the LinkedIn page, John G. Mwati is a good connect.
So I'll leave the link to his profile
Sure.
and the profile of the foundation that he's running
Yeah.
at the description of this video, and all the information you may need about the MRF scholarship. So that was John Mwati, and this is the Management Diary. Until the next episode, bye-bye.